Minasan, konnichiwa, watashi wa Vince desu to, kore wa atarashi no GAC Empow desu.
It's not Japanese!
Oh, I'm sorry. Ni hao. Hey guys, Vince here from AutoIndustriya, and yes, what we have here, it's the Empow. It's an entirely new nameplate here in the Philippine market and actually everywhere else. Now, you may be wondering, what is GAC doing in the sport compact car class? And mind you, this really is a sporty compact car in many ways, but clearly what they're aiming for here is someone who's in the market for a Civic. And in many ways, I think the Empow can actually beat the Civic. Man, I know I triggered a lot of Honda enthusiasts in that one. Now, some may be wondering why GAC is exploring a four-door sedan such as this when the market, both globally and locally, has switched very much towards crossovers, SUVs, pickups, and vans. Basically anything apart from a sedan or a hatchback, that kind of thing. Well, it's probably because they can. And if you look at the GAC lineup, they've already got a lot of crossovers of all shapes and sizes and designs. So what we have here now, well, it's kind of an exploration into this kind of car. And when we look at the vehicle, you know what? It really looks good. I imagine this was what the baby of a Hyundai and a Lexus would look like, especially when you look at the front end. I mean, look at that grille, look at the details. Yeah, it's like a Lexus Hyundai hybrid in many ways. Maybe even a little bit of Kia in there. Who knows? I really like the headlights, the grille, the silver accent under there. When you actually look at it, yes, it does look like it's about to pounce. It looks like it wants to go fast. And that's something we really associate more with Mazda, even when it's parked. The only thing though, this is the mid-range variant, the GB. And when you look at the wheels, well, I don't know, kind of leaves a lot to be desired. There are a few more nice details with the vehicle. Like, for example, these vents right here, fully functional. Instead of Trumpchi here on the side, it now says GAC lighting, which is pretty neat. But if you look at the wheels, now you see what I mean when I say it's too small for something that looks this good. These are already 17 inches and it has GT tires, meaning GITI tires. So it's clearly more on the comfort side, so we'll tell you more about that later. The side mirrors wrapped in this carbon fiber, well, wrap. I wouldn't really say if it's real carbon fiber, probably just a wrap. But when we look at the side of the vehicle in its entirety, you may get the idea of, you may understand why I'm saying that there is kind of Hyundai, Kia, maybe even Lexus with the design of the vehicle, because look at it, look at the details. For example, the trim up here, the chrome trim that goes into the C-pillar, that is something we've also seen in the Kia Stinger GT, which is actually really nice. These taillights, the way these angle up, reminds me of the Lexus IS 350 or the Lexus IS, but overall, it really does look good. They really made it work with the GAC Empow. Now, the back of the Empow looks really nice, really clean. Look at the taillights, the badging, the fastback appearance of the vehicle. It looks really sweet, but make no mistake about it, this is not a liftback, so the glass does not go up with the trunk lid. Now, before I open the trunk lid, I'll give you one guess as to what's bugging me right now about the Empow. 3 seconds. Got it? Well, if you guessed these fake tailpipes on the bumper, then you're absolutely right. I'm not really sure why car makers like to go for that when there's no pipe sticking through there, but it just looks, I don't know, strange. It's something you would buy from Lazada or Shopee, not in a production car. So maybe future designers should keep that in mind. But that's just my opinion, of course. Now, trunk. Well, the trunk itself, it's actually quite spacious. It measures about 38 by 39, of course, in inches. The height here is about 21. So it's not a big opening because, again, it's not a liftback, and this one does not go all the way up to here because they made the glass area so big. But one nice thing about the Empow is that, like the Civic, it has a fold-down rear seat, 60/40 style. So if you need more space, it can now accommodate items up to about 68 inches long into the cabin. Pretty neat. Powering the GAC Empow is a 1.5-liter turbo intercooler gasoline engine, and it comes with a 7-speed wet dual clutch transmission driving the front wheels. Now, it has 270 Newton meters of torque and, well, aptly enough, 168 horsepower. Yes, 168. Now, there are some things that we want to discuss here in the engine bay, and we can tell a lot of what we need to go around because there's a lot going on. If you can see, it's a very busy engine bay. There's pretty much no more space left to put anything else in there with this massive air cleaner, big battery, ECUs right here. Of course, you have the air intake there, which takes in air from the passenger side of the vehicle. So if you see air cleaner, follow it all the way through there. So it's somewhere around in that area. But what's really interesting with the Empow is what's on top of the engine. If you see this, that is not an amplifier for your audio system, even though it actually does look like it. It is actually the intercooler of the vehicle. Now, you're thinking, hey, intercooler, what's it doing on the top of the engine like a Subaru when there are no vents right here for a hood scoop? The answer is because it's not cooled by air as you're driving along. Instead, it's cooled by fluid, well, I think coolant over there. If you look on the passenger side of the engine bay, you'll spot 2 reservoir tanks. One is for the radiator, which is right here. The other is for that intercooler. So if you look at the piping here, follow it there, basically goes out there into another cooler there for that fluid. We're not sure if it goes into the actual radiator, but probably into its own. But basically, it's an air-to-water intercooler. That is something we did not expect from this vehicle. Actually, that's something we've really only seen in a few. One example would be the Toyota Supra. The A90 has an intercooler setup like that. What it gives you is a straight shot and basically simplifies the whole manufacturing process. Because turbo is in the back, the hot air goes through that cooler, gets cooled down, sent to the intake up in front. Pretty neat. That is all it does. There's no complicated piping around to an intercooler in front. So it really simplifies the assembly process of the vehicle because you just put the engine bay, hook everything up, and you're good to go. Now, let's go take a look inside. Now, the back seat of the Empow, this mid-grade van, is actually really nice. I mean, even though it's mid-grade, got soft seating, really soft. It's got this really nice leather here with the G pattern. Actually, the G is everywhere. It's a G pare. But, so yeah, sitting here, I can really get comfortable here on a long drive. Even got an AC vent here in the back, along with the USB port pockets, power windows, the usual. The sunroof, well, it doesn't reach all the way back here, but you know, that's kind of expected. I do have my own light. And if I don't need to sit here and I want to get longer stuff, well, as I showed you before, these seats do fold. Now let's check out the front. When GAC first said that they're handing me the keys to the mid-spec Empow, I was really prepared to be kind of moderately impressed. But when I stepped into this actual one, well, let me tell you now that it is impressive. Like, bar none when you compare it to a Civic, Corolla Altis, anything in its class, it just blows it out of the water in terms of the initial impression you get from the interior. I mean, look at the steering wheel. It's a D-cut with a flat bottom. Again, I like that. The spokes really nice. The buttons have a nice torque to them. They're a little small, some are, but otherwise it's okay. The dashboard, the details, everything just seems very well put together, very well thought out. That is always a good thing. You want to have a car that when you're stuck in traffic, and most of us will probably be stuck in traffic most of the time, this is a fantastic interior to look at. Now, GAC has had this motif of this, curve thing, bow, whatever, going around the dashboard. So much so that the dashboard actually sits low of the windshield. If you look, you can really see the dotted thing, the borders of the glass. That's something they've done with other GAC's sedans we've driven before. And it continues here. If you look at the dashboard, it's kind of sloping downward. Actually, the arrangement, I mean, of course, with this big thing here, this big housing, which, by the way, looks fantastic. This is like reminiscent of like many modern Kias and even Hyundais if they had that unit. But the dashboard, it kind of, forgive me for saying this, it reminds me of some of the Ferraris I've driven before. Because look at the material, the soft touch, this thing here, the way the AC control, yes, this is the AC controls, by the way, right here. Sometimes we end up using this thinking it's audio volume control. No, it's not. It's the AC. The carbon fiber-ish panel down here, it looks fantastic. Yes, really reminiscent of very high-end vehicles. That is a good thing. And then they executed it very, very well. Now for the primary controls. Steering wheel, like I mentioned, I actually like how it looks. Though being a mid-grade variant, it's not leather wrap. This is urethane, which, yeah, I understand why. But I would have preferred a leather wrap here. But I have to say, when it comes to urethane, or whatever material they use for this one, it is really nice. It's got a nice grip to it. And then when they cut it, the way they molded it, the seam, you can't feel the seam from the molding process, which is a good thing because it has metal inside and then they mold some urethane on it. Yeah, feels really good. Buttons have a nice torque to them. I mean, volume control there. You have your cruise control on the left side. It's the adaptive kind of cruise control. So you can set the distance to the vehicle ahead. It does have the lane keep assist, assistance and alert. But I did find the assist to be a bit strong for the lane. So when you approach a lane, it really tugs the wheel at you. Of course, they can do that because it's an electronic power steering unit. That's how you get these kinds of features. Now, the panel here, of course, this has your shifter. As you can see, you've got your T-bar, well, can't really call it a T-bar anymore, whatever this is, but it looks like a flight sim throttle control, which is kind of nice. It feels really good. It's really a reverse, so R, and then neutral. Oh, sorry. R, then, how do you get to, yeah, there you go, neutral, and then drive, you go there. There is no manual mode here, which I did find weird, because being a sports sedan, oh, by the way, P is right here. Being a Sport E sedan, I kind of expected a manual gate where you can shift, but no. This one just holds it in the middle, and then there's no way to move left to right for a gate. There's also no paddle shifter option in this variant, which is kind of odd because, as I will show you when I'm driving, I would really want a paddle shifter here or even a manual mode for this one. Of course, 2 pedals only. It's the rubber kind. It's not the aluminum kind of pedal, which is, it's okay. You don't really look at that anyway. And then you have your parking brake, electronic parking brake right here with the auto hold. So useful in traffic. Also, you got your volume control here. So yes, remember when I was reaching for this for the volume? No, it's actually right here. The other one is the drive mode. Now this brings us up to the screen right here. So when I mess with the drive mode, oh, sorry, right here. Sorry about that. So right now we have Eco, right? Gives you the most nice, I guess. Oop, hold on. Let me go back there. Right. So these are the drive modes of the vehicle. Actually, this display really reminds me of BMW. And it shows you the things it actually tweaks when you're driving or when you go through the different modes. So you have, of course, dynamic system. It's only the transmission. It does not alter the suspension characteristics of the vehicle. So you have basically how the transmission and the engine behave, and also how much force the steering wheel gives you. Because these, if you think about those driving simulators, this one, it adjusts the force of the steering, like a force feedback kind of thing. So now we go through, let's say, Sport. You see it altered, went to Sport. That means it's a bit firmer here on the steering wheel. And then you have Eco right there. It's more of kind of slowing down the vehicle, at least reducing the response of the throttle, the ETC, the electronic throttle control, to make it more efficient, meaning it's not as eager to accelerate when you're coming off the line. DIY, this one you can configure it the way you want. But the one they told me about is this one, right there, Sport Plus. Now apparently there was some special way to activate Sport Plus, and you have to do a kind of contra code, like up, down, left, right, something, select, start, that kind of thing, to be able to activate that. There's some kind of code that they have to do with the vehicle to bring this out. When you go to Sport Plus, you get this nice display. How cool is that? Oil pressure, water temperature, turbo pressure in bar, and of course oil temperature, air temperature. Really, really nice. But yeah, still considering that this is a mid-grade model, I did not expect something to be as nice as this. Oh, my phone goes here as well. There's also an area here under here. It's like a floating console with your USB ports, charging port there. You also have a sunroof up here. Oh, and by the way, just like with the GAC GS8, you can control that from this screen. So you can control the window. See, nope, you have to hold it. There you go. See, you can open your window from there. I don't know why you would want to, but if you want to open all windows, you can. If you, I guess, press and hold that. Nevertheless, it also has a sunroof. Where is that sunroof? Right there. You go up in there. Pretty nice, right? Now that's something really neat with the Empow. Same with the GS8, same kind of system. Now you also do your mirrors, the usual stuff. But one thing here is the connectivity. Now, as you can see, there are several options for connectivity in this vehicle. You have Apple CarPlay. So in the GS8, I mistakenly mentioned that it had Apple CarPlay. I was actually looking at the spec sheet of this one, but this one has the CarPlay, and it has two other ways, neither of which I have on my phone, with really good audio quality, even with Bluetooth. I just wish I can hook up my Android Auto into this system. But enough talk, let's go out and drive it. It only takes about a minute or two of driving before you realize that the Empow is a seriously comfortable car. Because right now, EDSA, concrete, lots of tar patches and asphalt patches. And for a compact car, this is really comfortable. Even when vehicles pass you, I mean, it really takes a loud motorcycle or jeepney before it really unsettles you, or before it really truly permeates inside. Even tire noise, very well managed in this one. But one thing I really noticed is that if you're like me and you live in a village with a lot of humps where, the homeowners association kind of went nuts with the humps, well, this is something you're gonna like, because in the humps in my village, nothing rides like this over the rough stuff. I mean, only far more expensive vehicles really bother this. Only much more expensive vehicles can give me that kind of ride over the bumps, because it just absorbs it very well. I think that's a good combination of the tires and the suspension. Now, I know a lot of you guys are going to be chiming in the comments about the situation between China and the Philippines, and the West Philippine Sea, South China Sea, however you want to refer to it. But we are cars, of course. We are not politics, so we really leave a lot of that out. But as a car, that said, this is a fairly interesting one. Now, there are some criticisms that I have of it. The biggest one, of course, is the transmission. Now, I do like DCTs, especially wet type DCTs, which this one does have. However, the issue I have with the Empow is the way it behaves in urban traffic. Our urban traffic, actually. Because when you drive it around the city, it can be a bit jerky if you don't know what to expect, because the way it releases and engages the gear, the way it selects the gear, it leaves a lot to be desired if you're dealing with traffic. So it gets, sometimes it gets to be like that. And also, if it does have hill hold or something like that, There are times that when I was on an incline that would move a little bit when I go from the brake to the gas. Of course, with the auto hold, much of that is eliminated, which is kind of good, but something to point out nonetheless. Now, when you do enter the open road, it is actually fairly interesting because like right now we're just cruising on the expressway on the NLEX, and it's like nice and quiet and really, really slick. All the jerkiness of the DCT just goes away because here you don't really feel it. However, the issue with this one is that the throttle response or the transmission response, whichever, because like right now I put it to sport mode. Let's say I want to overtake, I'm floored. Takes about a second or two to respond. So keep that in mind. I think they still need to really work on the programming of the throttle control and the transmission because, yeah, it leaves quite a bit to be desired when it comes to response. It is, however, quick because once the road does open up, let's try to find an open patch on the highway. Once it does open up, it is actually fast. You know what? I don't want to incur a speeding ticket. We'll save it for a different location. Now, for fuel economy, in the city, I was easily getting 9.5 kilometers per liter in urban traffic, and that's a mosquito right there. How annoying, right? Let's see if I can get him out. Oh, there's a Civic Type R behind me. I'm not gonna piss him off, but in city traffic, I was getting around 9.5 kilometers per liter, which is good. And the best part is that it was at an average speed of just 14 kilometers per hour, which is outstanding. Really, really slow average speed, but really good fuel economy. Here on the expressway, way more. We're talking around 16.2 kilometers per liter. I just checked. Yeah. So these are things we can expect from this kind of engine and transmission combination. And the fact that it's nice and smooth and there's no creaks, nothing weird to report. It has adaptive cruise control, which I haven't really used. One more thing. The lane keep assist, I turned it off because I found it to be a bit too strong. Like, for example, when you approach a line, it really does try to keep you in the lane, or at least try to avoid it with the nervousness of a driving instructor. The steering response, it's not great. It's like it feels like just a little bit behind. It's not as direct as some of the other units I've tried from, let's say, Honda, or not really the Corolla Altis, but Honda, Subaru, that kind of thing. Those cars have good steering. This one, because when you turn it here, change lane, there's a little bit of a lag. Not really a lag. It's just it doesn't seem to respond as quickly with the steering. So yeah, keep that in mind. You know what? Let's bring the Empow somewhere where we can kind of exploit its handling characteristics. Empow. Now we're back at our warehouse for an autocross style of drive. We've got a little figure 8 course, as we usually do, but it's actually surprising how the Empow behaves, because I expected it to be floaty, like what the guys were saying about the MG GT. I mean, I didn't get to drive that car. I really should. This was actually supposed to be with those two other vehicles, the Civic RS as well as the MG GT, but we couldn't get it in time for that. But driving it around now, I think this can hold its own, because while the suspension is soft, the body remains surprisingly flat. It's not leaning too much here. Like, watch this. Right? There is a bit of lean, and then it holds it steady, and you can power out. Wow, when it powers out, that's really good. Right? But the braking, it's okay. It's good. It's not sports car level, but again, we're not expecting sports car level. But it does feel confident enough around this course. And even over the expansion joints there, it's actually doing pretty well. Pretty cool. Now, the tires though, I think they're already at their, limit when it comes to cornering like this. because I can hear quite a bit of tire squeal even though I'm trying to feed it in as smoothly as I can. But for example here, right turn, yeah, bit of sliding. It's a bit dusty out here, but so far it's okay. But I would prefer better tires, maybe lower profile. But I can imagine driving this on a mountain course and really having fun. I really just wish it came with paddle shifters. Anyways, what do we think about the Empow? Well, let's take a stop and find out. Now we come to the price. This version retails for just a little bit over 1.2 million. There's a lower grade version. There's also a higher grade version that is closer to 1.3. Now, mind you, those are introductory prices, not final SRP yet, meaning the price will likely go up in a few months' time. Hopefully not. Now, that also begs the question, who are they trying to market the Empow for? Now, let's look at the options. Someone who's more enthusiastic about sport compact cars would probably be interested in a Civic, regardless if it's way more expensive. The only real downside is that the Civic, there's no manual transmission option. I think GAC could have offered that in the Empow to appeal to that kind of customer. Then there's also the person who's looking for an everyday vehicle. But mind you, at 1.2, it's a bit too close to the Toyota Corolla Altis. And you can even have a 1.6 GRS, I think, for just a little bit over 1.3. So that kind of puts this in a dilemma. But in all honesty, there are some things in the Empow that I think need addressing. For one, I think they should have put in paddle shifters. That would have been really nice. They need to do some fine-tuning with the ADAS as well, particularly the lane assistance. It's a bit too strong in my opinion. But also, the transmission. That I think is the fundamental thing they need to kind of address in this one, because in city traffic, in our city traffic, well, it's a bit jerky, it's a bit, unsure of itself. So not really that good, but on the highway, really fantastic. I believe the real issue with the Empow goes even deeper than that. It's something along the lines of identity. You see, when I was driving the Empow, I'm trying to really think, it seems like they started out really wanting to make a sport compact car, something really along the lines of a Civic RS, maybe even a Civic Si, that kind of thing. But then as they went through the development process, going through with corporate, with the accountants, they have a department of comfort over at GAC, it kind of really got diluted to what we have here. Now, I think there is a really good car here, but they need to do some tuning to really give it the identity it deserves. This is Vince of AutoIndustriya.com. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe and follow us on all our socials. We've got more in store for you.